Greetings from the Niles Essanay Silent Film Museum. My name's Michael Bonham, and I'm speaking to you from the original projection booth from our 1913 Nickelodeon Theater. And we're hoping that sometime in the fall we will be showing films from this projection booth again. Keep in touch with us on that. So welcome to the Chaplin Days 2021 online. We always like to start with Charlie Chaplin's 5 Niles Essanay films. But for those of you who are not familiar with Charlie's history, I'll give you a little nutshell. He was born in London in 1889, and after a stint in vaudeville as a young man, signed a contract with Max Sennett's Keystone Studio at the beginning of 1914. At the end of 1914, he was looking to make more money than Sennett was willing to pay, so a contract with Essanay was negotiated, which brought him $1,250 a week and a $10,000 signing bonus, quite a sum in those days. He made his first film for Essanay at their Chicago studio, appropriately called his new job. His partner in that film was Ben Turpin. Now, Ben was in his second stint with Essanay after quite a few years of knockabout stage comedy, which at one time resulted in Crossing His Eyes, which would bring him a lot of money and fame later in his career. The film made in the Chicago studio was a big hit, but Charlie didn't want to stay there because George Spohr, the co-owner and the S of Essanay, ran the place more like a factory than a movie studio, including shutting down every night at 6 p.m. Not good for creativity, Charlie once said. So Charlie came out here to Niles, where Bronco Billy Anderson, the A of Essanay, gave him more freedom to do things the way he wanted. And his first film for Essanay here in Niles is the subject of my little talk and my personal favorite of all of his Essanay films, A Night Out. Now, in A Night Out, Charlie and Ben are partners again, just a couple of guys with a few drinks under their belts, just out for a good time. Now, for interior sets, Charlie had a cafe set built and a couple of hotel sets, and it was from those sets that he got inspiration for the funny business that would go on in the film. For outdoor settings, they went up to Oakland and did some filming in front of a couple of apartment buildings, the Peralta Apartments on 13th Street and the Sierra Apartments on Alice Street. We also know that they did some exterior filming in front of a bar called Chick's in the Alcantara building at the corner of Post and Market Streets in San Jose. So they went out of their way to find good filming locations for this film. Now, as for the cast, they also employed Leo White. Now, White had been making films for Essanay since 1913 and had come out also with Charlie to Niles. And he continued to appear in films in very small roles all the way up into the late 40s. 476 film credits to his name, so he was quite a busy little guy. There were 2 debuts in this film. One would be the lovely 19-year-old Edna Purviance. Charlie met Edna up in San Francisco and brought her down here, auditioned her, and made her his leading lady. And she continued to be his leading lady for the next 8 years. And their film chemistry was so good, and it really helped make Charlie a much better comedian, and he kept her on his payroll for the rest of her life, sent her money until she passed on in the 50s because she had done that much for him. The other debut in this film was Big Bud Jameson. Now, Bud was a Bay Area native from Vallejo and had been a singer in cafes and on vaudeville. Charlie liked having a big bully in his films to push him around. At the beginning, Bud plays the surly, bullying waiter, and then later, to Charlie's consternation, it also turns out to be Edna's husband. This was a very successful film, but Charlie did not want to have a partner after this film. He wanted to continue as a solo act. But you don't have to feel sorry for Ben, because he continued to act in Essanay movies here in Niles, in the Snakeville comedies, and then later in the decade signed a contract with Max Sennett's studio and became a big, major star on his own. So he did okay for himself. Now, Charlie went on to film 4 more films for Essanay here in Niles. His last one was one of his most iconic films, The Tramp, the film where he established his little tramp character forevermore. Before I go, there's a couple of more things I want to tell you. We are opening our museum and store again on weekends starting the 26th and 27th of June. So we hope you come by and see us. We'd love to have you. Also, the museum now owns the property that we sit on, and we are planning a major renovation for our building. We are bringing it back to its 1913 roots, as you can see by the photo of the architect's model that was made for us. It takes a lot of money though, so we are hoping that you can donate and help us bring the museum building back to its heyday. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and your donation is tax deductible. All you have to do is go on our website, nilesfilmmuseum.org, and click on the Donate tab at the top of the page. If you'd like to send a check, you can make it out to NESFM and send it to Niles Essanay Silent Film Museum, 37417 Niles Boulevard, Fremont, California, 94536. Your generosity will help make our museum one of the jewels of the Bay Area. So thank you for listening, and please enjoy the rest of Charlie Chaplin Days.